everyone, and welcome to the last of all of your Capri Classic haircuts. This haircut today we're going to be doing is called the round layer, and before I go and explain it on the board for you, what I want to make sure is you understand there's going to be a few things going on in this haircut that you've not used to. And of course, I feel that this is one of the easiest haircuts to do in your career. However, you're going to find it difficult today, obviously, because it's the first time you're actually doing a round layer. But the reason why I feel as you go through your career, you're going to find, just like I did, how easy this haircut can be performed is because a round layer haircut follows the shape of the head. It's the more difficult haircuts are when we do the diagonal lines or the square layers and the boxes and the rectangles, which we call anti-head shape. Today what we're going to do is we're going to break this haircut down for you. This is also the only layered haircut that you're going to learn that we actually do the perimeter cut first. Just like we discussed in the previous videos, we would have cut those perimeters first, but we were only interested in teaching you the actual layering part of the conversion layering or the box cut or the increased layers. In this round layered haircut, we are going to cut the perimeter as just like if we were in a salon, and then we're going to go into our layering and do an entire round layered haircut. Now, just like all the Capri Classic haircuts, this is pure haircut, meaning there's no combination of anything else going on except the perimeter cut, which will be done in one length, and then total round layers. That's not the real world, like when you go into your salons in the future and things like that. You're going to use a combination of all these classic cuts to create the beautiful haircuts that you're going to be doing in your future. So I think it's time now. We're going to go to the board. I'm going to just explain it to you how we're going to do it, and then we'll actually come in and do the haircut for you. Up on the board here, you see that we have a round layered haircut. Just like all of our classic haircuts, we start with 4 basic sections, and we're going to cut the perimeter first. The back of this haircut, we're going to do a horizontal subsections. So you could see we're going to do a straight line in the back. And the subsections are going to be about 1 inch wide. Okay? Starting at the nape area, we're going to work up to the top of the head. So we're going to cut the entire back first. Then we're going to go into the sides and the front. And there we're going to do a diagonal back section at the perimeter and work up. So we're combining 2 haircuts that you did, the classic one-length haircuts. We're doing the horizontal in the back, diagonal back in the front. So that's the first part of this haircut. Then we're going to go into the layers. So as you can see on the board, procedure for this haircut is going to cut the perimeter lengths, which we already spoke about, create a guideline in the center back, which is going to be right in the back of the haircut. That's where we're going to start. We're going to project the hair starting at the bottom 90 degrees from the head, working up to the center crown. Next sections can be worked from top to bottom or bottom to top. Both are acceptable. Work with radial sections from the center back to the center front, and then repeat the procedure on the opposite side. Hair is the same length all around the head, and that's the whole idea of a pure round layered haircut. If it's 6 inches here, it's 6 inches in the back, it's 6 inches on the sides, or 8 inches, or 10 inches, or whatever it is you decide to do for that client. So we're going to get started now on this particular haircut. We are going to break it down, and we're going to tell you or show you now exactly what we spoke about here on the board. So I'll get started doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this haircut down at the nape area. Like we said, we're going to take about 1 inch section. We're going to do a horizontal. We're going to do both sides, bring them down, cut it off, one length fashion, and on a horizontal line. Come over to this side. Again, just like the beginning of this hair cutting when we were teaching you the basics, I comb the hair in a direction apart. I sketch, I touch, I pinch, and I separate. Combing that hair up and out of our way so I could see that nice subsection. It's my roadmap for what I'm going to be doing down here. Going to come over to the side now. We're going to just cut this bottom length, and I'm going to probably leave about 8 inches of hair here. So we're going to just come down and bring it down. As you could see, we're going to go below the base area, and I would say that's a good 6 to 8 inches. We're going to go probably around 6 or 7 inches. I'm going to just take that off one length fashion. You could see me going and doing the one length with the underhand technique of the scissor. Now we're going to come around and do the same thing on the other side. Keeping my fingers just pointing out to the side there. Missed a piece there. check your lengths. Always checking lengths before you start bringing new sections down. Going to take our next section, again about 1 inch wide. Comb the hair in the direction of the part, sketch, touch, pinch, and separate. You can see that I'm almost at the top of the ear now. If the sections are too large, you could always take smaller sections. But I think that this is a good amount of, or good size subsection for this particular mannequin, because these mannequins here, as you could see, are different than the haircutting mannequins we've been using. In fact, this is the very first haircut Debbie is getting. And these mannequins do not have as much hair as the other mannequins you've been using. So, separate in the center, just like we do. Bring this down. Look for your guide as it disappears in the base of the back, as we learned along the way here. Underhand technique. Take it off. Come over to the other side, do the same. We're going to do this in about 2 more sections, I would say. Connect to the other side. Check your lengths. Come over here, take the next section down. Comb that hair up and out of the way, ponytail it. Clip it out of your way. Same thing on this side. Clip it out of the way, and we're ready to get started again. Bringing this hair all straight down. Nice horizontal line. Come over to the other side, do the same. Okay. I'm going to actually drop this all down because I know because of this mannequin, very little is going to reach down to the bottom guideline. So we did that in about 3 or 4 sections, and we're now ready to go into our sides after we finish this cut. Again, final section, split, just like we normally would. Bring that hair down, underhand technique. Anything coming past your line, take it off. If it doesn't reach, don't worry about it. Here we go. Back done with the outer perimeter. I'm going to just check lengths one more time before I move on to the sides, because I want to make sure we're nice and even in the back before I actually go into my sides, because I'm going to be connecting to these sides on both sides of the back. So here we go. We're going to come over to the side here now. I'm going to take a diagonal back section. About 1 inch wide. And it's okay if I go back past my 4 basic sections. So I want to take some of the guideline from the back and I want to connect it to that back. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, I want to make the length about the same as it was in the back area. So we're going to figure out about the chin or just below the chin, and that's about the length we did in the back. So I'm going to be setting the original guide here. And I could again work from the bottom and point my fingers up to the chin, or I can start my length here and simply point towards the bottom area. So we're going to connect to this back and we're going to be about 1 inch below the chin. So either way you want to work, I'll show you on this side. We're going to go from the bottom up. Continue your angle. pointing your fingers up to about an inch below the chin, one length fashion. Continue that angle up. And it's about an inch below the chin. Now we are connected to our haircut in the back. We're going to go and do the other side. This side's even easier because what we have is we have a point A and point B. We have a point here that's already been cut. We have a point already cut here. All I have to do is connect from there to there. So I'm going to take a little piece of the other side. I'm going to point my fingers down, and I'm going to be pointing them towards this corner here. Again, angling my fingers towards that corner and taking the hair off. There it is, connect to the back. And now we have both sides. Going to check lengths, as we always do, before moving on. Okay, next section, about 2 more sections on the top here should do it for us. Again, not a lot of hair. She's getting a little dry, so I'm going to put a little bit of water on her before I continue this cut. You could see the diagonal back section. Same thing on the other side. Take this down. Now we have a guideline underneath to go by. I'm going to just follow that when it disappears in my hand, underhand technique. Follow that right down. Don't shift the hair this way or this way. Remember, we're doing one length. That means that hair has to come down in its natural fall position. And that's where we're looking to do a good one length haircut for our perimeter. Connect to our back. Same on the other side. Look for your guide. There it is. Take it off. Again, natural fall. The tendency for doing this type of line will be you'll tend to want to do this. But we don't want that. That would be graduation. Remember, shifted graduation? We want this in one length. Ready for the last section. Look for anything coming over your guide. Take it off. Same on the other side. And that's about it. Off we go now into our layers. Now, even though I'm not going to put clips in it, I do want to make sure that I know where my 4 basic sections are. And that's important because all of our layers, which we spoke about, are going to be on pie sections or radial sections. And those radial sections, just like when we did our previous haircut, the increased layered haircut, those pie sections are all going to reach to the very highest point of the bone structure on the haircut. And that means all of these individual radial sections have to meet at the very point where the 4 basic sections meet. So rather than me clipping these hair up, when I'm doing layers, I don't want clips in the hair at all. I want to do my layers while I have my 4 basic sections in, so I simply make sure that the hair is wet at all times so I can use the comb to push that hair out of the way. And as we said on the board earlier, we're going to start by cutting the center guideline right in the center back, and that's what I'm going to be performing for you now. Pie section, radial, push this hair out of the way. So we mentioned earlier when we were discussing this haircut on the board that you're going to find it difficult, and there's a couple of things working in this situation. And when we talk about increased the layers, the round layers we're going to do, just like the increased layers, what we have to make sure of is that when we bring the hair out, where we were doing everything up to the top on the previous haircut, here we're going to be bringing the hair parallel to the haircut or the head form. So when I go down here, you're going to see me pull the hair out here. When you come to the middle of the head, it's going to pull out straight out the back. As I move up the head, we're going to curve and we're going to actually bring the hair up. And at last, very least, we're going to bring that straight up to the ceiling, just like the increased layers. This will create the roundness in our layers that we're trying to achieve. So we have to make sure we're at 90 degrees, starting at the bottom, and we have to continue that 90 degrees throughout this haircut. The other thing we need to be aware of is that not only do we have to make sure we're 90 degrees this way, But we also have to make sure we're not pulling it towards us or away from us. We want to make sure we're right over those two sections or subsections that we took in those radial sections. So I'm going to let some hair drop out. We always let that out. And I'm going to now connect my layers. And you can actually see me cutting away from the head. And the reason why is the head is angled this way at the bottom. So we want that line to come outward. Again, parallel to the head form. Now I'm going to move the hair up. And you can see I'm grabbing more hair and I'm letting hair drop out. And I'm not going to connect down to here lengthwise. I have to make sure that I connect to the last part I cut so that I don't actually get shorter as I move up. So I have to make sure that when I do bring this hair out, I let everything drop and go to the longest length that I just stopped cutting at. I'm going to go straight up now, again, straight out back, and now I'm going to continue up on an angle, again, looking to where I cut. Don't connect to here, but connect all the way to where you stopped cutting, which is here. That will keep the length you need so you actually don't get shorter as you work up the head. Last, we're going to go straight up here, all the way to the very end of where we stopped cutting, and now I'm going to cut that. And again, you could see the length has not changed throughout this haircut. So our lengths throughout this haircut are going to be the same from the bottom all the way up to the top. Just a little long there, so I'm feeling better about that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of our guideline, just like our previous haircut, push it out of the way, and now take a new piece of hair to cut, push the other side out of the way, and as you could see, we're now doing radial sections starting at the bottom. Don't worry if you don't grab all this hair, you could push some out of the side. Make sure you're directly over your two sections. Look for your guideline. Again, at the bottom here, we're cutting out and away. Again, looking for where I stopped cutting, straight out the back. Now we're going upward. Look for the guide from the side. And again, last, straight up to the ceiling. Drop some, take some of the guideline away. And we're going to take a new piece of hair here. Here is where we have to be concerned with ourselves. We have to see that in the corner of the nape area here, that we are now starting to come upward. So our guidelines, as we do this, we have to make sure we don't accidentally put a hole in our haircut here. And the way to make sure of that is to make sure that when you do cut this next section, always make sure in this haircut that some of the perimeter falls out. That means you're not touching the length that you did originally in this haircut when we did the one length haircut. And I'll show that right now. When we cut this hair down at the bottom, I'm going to be coming out towards the side of the head now. I'm going to check my lengths. I'm going to make sure that, see that dropped out? We're going to now cut that. Again, outward. Using our guide from the other side. There it is. Take it off. Upward we go. Looking for that guide. Take it off. Okay, up to the top, look for the guide, and take that hair off. Good. Here we go to the sides now. Take a piece of that away. New piece of hair. I'm now right to the ear area here, just behind the ear. And again, making sure that when I do this, I no longer have to go and do down here, going outward, because the head form changed to be a flat. So rather than coming all the way down there, we're going to now come from our hairline straight out. We're going to make sure that that hairline drops out. All of it drops out before we start our cut. And now we're going to raise that up. Look for our guide. Up a little higher. Look for our guide. And last but not least, straight up. Drop that section. Get rid of some of that guideline. And now we're coming towards the front. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up this section. And again, don't worry about the rest of the hair that's in your hand because that's not going to be touched. I'm going to make sure I come straight off the head. And again, I'm going to make sure that that perimeter is not being touched. Because if I do, I change the length of the haircut, which I did earlier. And I don't want that to happen. Look for your guide. Follow the shape of the head. Pick it straight up. There's the guideline. Off it comes. So you can see our length stayed the same throughout this entire haircut. On this side. We are going to be going over to the other side in just a moment. I have about 2 more sections here. And again, think about how high my perimeter is now, right here. And where I don't have to do is I don't have to come down here anymore. So what we're going to do is continue with our 90 degrees, but up from that point, the 90 degrees is up here. See? And we're going to make sure that that falls out and then cut. Because I just wet it down, they're a little sticky. So she didn't drop as easy, so I showed you how it dropped. Last section is the center section, right to the middle of the ear. Nose. Right to the center of the nose. And now the last section on this side. During this entire haircut on this side, you could see my body has been in front of my sections. And on the other side, I'm actually going to switch up. Again, make sure that doesn't get touched. Here's my guide. Connect. Okay, and we're done with that side. What we're going to do now is, this entire side I stood on in front of my subsections. What we're going to do now is, on the other side, when I start my back, I'm going to take a piece of the guide from the side I just cut, and I'm going to take a new section of hair. What you'll see me doing now is my body position will now be working behind my subsection. So when I have a subsection like this, I can stand on this side to cut, or I can actually be cutting on this side. But the body position you never want is to try and stay right in the center or right in the middle of that section. You need to be on one side or the other. Both are acceptable, and we're going to actually demonstrate me following my sections at this point in time through the rest of this haircut. All done with that, and just as we did in the previous haircuts, we're going to cross-check our work just to make sure we're good, even on both sides, and then we're going to do a style for you in this haircut. So that's our round layered haircut. We're going to check things to make sure they're good. Just a little bit there. Okay, that looks good to me. I'll check the side now. And again, just like we did in all previous haircuts, whenever I'm checking my haircut, I want to be at the same projection angle as where I cut it. Okay, one more check over here. 90 degrees, just that little bit. Good. Now, we could also check it this way because it's rounded. If you want, take your comb and just look to see if you see a rounded layer. You could see me just working around here, and I'm looking at my hand to see if the layers are rounded. And we're all set. So that's the round layered haircut for you. This is the last of the Capri Classic cuts. So we've done one length haircuts when we started this program with you, haircutting. We went in from one length haircuts, we went into the graduated type of haircuts, and then last but not least, the layered type haircuts. There's only 3 ways to cut hair, gang, and that is one length, graduation, and layers. What you do with it creatively determines how successful you will be as a hair cutter. Okay, gang, so this is the finishing up of the round brush blow dry. As you can see, it gives you a nice fun cut, just all different layers throughout the haircut. Definitely have that roundish feeling in there. So that is what we are trying to create, that roundish fun type of cut. Now, this brings us to the end of our chapter of Capri classic haircuts. For the rest of your careers, you will be actually using parts of all of the haircuts you just learned here in this classroom. The idea of when you go to analyze a haircut, whether it be on Instagram or any other in reality, and you're trying to break down that haircut, trying to figure out what was done to create that haircut, you use these haircuts that you learned in this classroom to analyze them and break them down into whether they're layers or they're one lengths or they're graduation, because all of the haircuts out there are built from these particular techniques. You'll be using these techniques daily for the rest of your careers. And that is something that you're going to realize, not now because you're not out there working on clients and things, but you will realize at one point in time that, wow, everything I'm doing relates to what I learned at the very beginning of my education at Capri. I hope you enjoyed our session and also our series of Capri classic haircuts. It's going to give you the tools needed to be great haircutters for the rest of your careers. And I'll see you again soon.